Maybe is disguised hesitation that prevents action and progress. It wears the mask of possibility, of open-mindedness, of flexibility, but behind it lies uncertainty, fear, and avoidance. People use maybe to delay commitment, to sidestep discomfort, and to avoid the responsibility of making a firm decision. It sounds harmless, even mature, as if you're considering all options carefully, but too often, it becomes a tool for procrastination. It becomes a way to escape the moment where action is required. The danger of maybe is that it keeps you in limbo. You're neither in nor out, neither trying nor quitting, and that's the space where dreams quietly die. That's the ground where nothing grows. The most deceptive thing about hesitation is how rational it seems. You tell yourself you're just waiting for the right moment, the right conditions, the right mood. But what you're really doing is buying time because you're afraid of failing, of being uncomfortable, of having to change. You hesitate because commitment feels heavy. Maybe lets you flirt with change without having to fully embrace it. It lets you feel like you're making progress because you're thinking about progress, but thinking is not doing. Action is doing, and maybe rarely leads to action. It leads to waiting. It leads to watching others move ahead while you're still stuck on the fence, asking the same questions, having the same doubts, making the same excuses. Progress doesn't come to those who hesitate. It comes to those who decide. It comes to those who are willing to risk, to try, to move, even if the step is small, even if the direction is uncertain. It's movement that matters, not perfection. You can adjust your course as you go, but you can't adjust from a standstill. You can't improve a plan that doesn't exist. Maybe is the silent killer of potential. It convinces you to wait until you're ready, but readiness is a myth. No one is ever completely ready. Readiness comes after you start, not before. The muscles of courage and confidence are built through use, not contemplation. Every moment spent in hesitation is a moment lost, a moment where momentum could have been built, where lessons could have been learned, where opportunities could have been seized. Life moves with or without you. While you hesitate, time keeps ticking, the world keeps spinning, people keep building, creating, achieving. Maybe doesn't pause the world, it just pauses you, and every time you say maybe, you reinforce a habit of non-action. It becomes easier to delay the next thing, to wait a little longer, to keep postponing the life you say you want. That's the cost of hesitation, a life that could have been but never was. Most people aren't held back by a lack of talent or intelligence. They're held back by hesitation, by doubting their ability to start, by worrying about what others will think, by fearing failure so much they never give themselves a chance to succeed. Maybe is the language of fear. It's not cautious optimism, it's disguised resistance. It's your comfort zone trying to pull you back. It's your mind trying to protect you from pain, but also from growth. Growth never comes from staying the same. It comes from decisions, from discomfort, from doing the hard thing now so you can enjoy the rewards later. People underestimate how powerful a single decision can be. One firm yes can change the course of your life. One committed step forward can unlock doors you didn't even know existed. But that only happens when you move with conviction, when you stop hiding behind maybe and start acting with purpose. The moment you stop waiting for perfect certainty and start moving forward with courage, your entire trajectory shifts. You don't need to know the whole path. You just need to take the next step. And to take that step, you must drop maybe from your vocabulary. Because maybe is the language of drift, not direction. It is the vocabulary of the passive, not the purposeful. Your future is shaped by what you consistently do, not by what you occasionally consider. And while maybe might feel safe, safety isn't where transformation happens. Growth lives on the other side of clarity, and clarity begins with commitment. If you keep waiting for the right moment, you'll wait forever. The right moment is the one you choose, the step you take today, the decision you make now, not when everything feels perfect, not when you feel brave, but in the face of uncertainty, in the presence of fear, and despite the doubts that whisper maybe into your ear every time you dare to dream bigger than your current circumstances. Success requires clear decisions, not uncertain intentions. The world does not reward people for what they intended to do, or what they thought about doing, or what they almost did. It rewards people who made a firm decision, took action, and followed through with consistency and discipline. Intention is a good start, but it's not enough. Everyone has intentions. Everyone has dreams. Everyone has goals floating in their minds, things they say they'll do someday, when the time is right, when they feel ready, when everything lines up. But only a few people take the step from intention to decision, and that is where the gap is created between those who achieve and those who wish. A decision draws a line. It defines a new path. It removes the escape routes. It says, I'm doing this, not I hope to do this. It's not a soft idea that drifts around depending on mood or motivation. It's a firm stand that says this is happening no matter what. When you make a decision, your mind shifts. You stop thinking like a spectator and start thinking like a participant. You stop asking if it will work and start figuring out how to make it work. A decision activates clarity. It narrows your focus and strengthens your direction. You begin to say no to things that don't align with the outcome you chose. You begin to build habits that support the decision. And even when progress is slow, you keep moving because you've already made the choice. The problem with uncertain intentions is that they allow too much room for negotiation with yourself. When things get hard, you rethink. When the results don't come fast, you hesitate. When you feel tired, you delay. That's what uncertain intention does. It gives you too many outs, too many excuses, too many opportunities to fall back into the comfort of inaction. But success demands something stronger. It demands that you eliminate if from your language. It demands that you speak in terms of when and how, and not maybe or someday. That shift in language reflects a deeper shift in mindset. People who succeed treat their goals as non-negotiable. They don't wait to feel motivated. They decide. They show up. They build the systems. They follow through. It's not about hype or excitement. It's about quiet, consistent effort built on a foundation of decision. The moment you truly decide, you stop entertaining distractions. You stop listening to the noise of doubt. You stop wasting time wondering what others will think. That is the power of a decision. It simplifies everything. You don't need more options. You need commitment to one direction. And the clearer your decision, the easier it is to organize your life around it. You start waking up with purpose. You start using your time with intention. You begin to take control of your environment, your routines, your energy. All of that flows from one thing, a clear, strong, unwavering decision. Most people get caught in cycles of starting and stopping because they never truly decided in the first place. They were interested, not committed. They liked the idea, but they weren't ready to pay the price. And success always has a price. It asks for your time, your energy, your focus, your discipline, and sometimes your comfort. You don't get to skip that part just because you had good intentions. You have to back it with action, and action doesn't come from maybe. It comes from I'm in. That's the standard. Every single person who has ever achieved something worthwhile, whether in business, health, relationships, or personal growth, made a clear choice. They decided who they wanted to become, and then they started living like that person, even before the results showed up. That's not magic. That's decision. That's power. Because when your mind is made up, your behavior follows. When your direction is set, your energy finds its purpose. But when your mind is unsure, your energy is scattered. Your focus is weak, your progress is inconsistent. That's the danger of unclear intention. It creates a life of reaction, not creation. The only way to break out of that is to choose to decide to stop sitting on the fence, to stop waiting for external confirmation, to stop hoping that life will somehow push you in the right direction. It won't. You have to be the one to push. You have to be the one to draw the line and say, "This is the path I'm walking." You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to know every detail, but you need to decide, because once you do, everything begins to align behind that choice. Your habits, your standards, your work ethic, your environment, your outcomes. It all starts with a clear decision that removes the need to ask yourself every day whether or not you feel like doing the work. Discipline and consistent action cannot grow in a mindset of indecision. When the mind is unsure, when commitment is absent, discipline struggles to take root. Without a firm decision, discipline has no direction. It becomes a vague effort, scattered and inconsistent, because there is no clear outcome driving it. Discipline is not something that simply shows up. It must be built and sustained through clarity of purpose. When someone knows exactly what they want, when they have made the decision to pursue it, discipline becomes the tool they use to get there. But when they hesitate, when they live in the land of maybe, discipline turns into a burden rather than a habit. It becomes something they fight with instead of something they rely on. You cannot discipline yourself toward a goal you haven't fully committed to. You might try for a day or a week, but eventually, without decision, the energy runs out. Discipline is fueled by commitment, and commitment comes from clarity. When a person is clear about who they want to become and what they want to achieve, they start to build behaviors around that vision. They wake up with structure, they say no to distractions, they show up on the days they don't feel like it because the decision has already been made. The daily effort is no longer a question. It becomes part of who they are. But indecision blocks that process. Indecision invites delay, distraction, and inconsistency. One day they work, the next they wait. One week they show up, the next they disappear. They keep resetting their habits, restarting their efforts, because they never locked in. Discipline is not a random act. It's a repeated act. It's built through rhythm and repetition, not occasional spurts of effort. But indecision destroys rhythm. It keeps people starting over, stuck in cycles of progress and regression. There's no momentum in that state. There's no compound effect, just motion without direction, just effort without growth. People often talk about motivation as if it's the answer, but motivation is unreliable. It's emotional. It comes and goes. Discipline is the antidote to that inconsistency, but only when the goal is anchored by a firm decision. Otherwise, discipline is shallow. It's performative. It looks good for a moment, but collapses under pressure. Real discipline is quiet, steady, unshakable. It's the ability to do what needs to be done even when no one is watching, even when it's uncomfortable, even when results are not yet visible. And to do that, there must be certainty. There must be a why, so strong that the work becomes non-negotiable. Without that why, the mind questions every sacrifice. Every hard choice feels optional. Every setback feels like a reason to quit. That's what indecision does. It weakens the resolve, it makes quitting easier, it lowers the threshold for discomfort. But when a person makes a clear decision that changes, they stop negotiating with themselves. They stop looking for the easy way out. They start finding reasons to stay in the fight instead of excuses to leave. That's the mindset where discipline thrives. It doesn't matter if the goal is physical transformation, financial success, skill development, or personal growth. The same principle applies. Without a strong decision, discipline fades. It cannot carry itself. It needs a destination. It needs a mission. Otherwise, it becomes a short burst followed by a long silence, and every time that pattern repeats, confidence erodes. The person begins to believe they are undisciplined when in truth they are undecided. They start blaming themselves for lack of willpower when the real issue is lack of commitment. Discipline is not about being naturally strong. It's about being absolutely clear. It's about knowing what matters most and then building your days around that. But when your mind is still evaluating the options, still trying to figure out if it's worth it, still unsure whether the effort will pay off, your actions reflect that uncertainty. You skip the hard things. You delay the necessary work. You do just enough to feel busy, but not enough to create change. And that is not discipline. That is hesitation in disguise. If you want to build something meaningful, something lasting, something exceptional, you need a level of discipline that doesn't fade with emotions. But that discipline cannot exist in a cloud of uncertainty. It must be rooted in a decision so strong that no excuse, no delay, no obstacle can shake it. You don't build that kind of discipline by waiting to feel ready. You build it by choosing a goal, deciding it's non-negotiable, and then structuring your life around the daily actions that move you closer to it. You don't ask yourself whether or not to show up. You just do. You don't wait to feel inspired. You rely on your routines. You don't rely on willpower. You create an environment where discipline becomes automatic. Waiting for the perfect moment wastes precious time and kills potential. Most people don't fail because they lack the ability or the opportunity. They fail because they wait too long. They keep telling themselves that they'll start when they're ready, when the timing is better, when they feel more confident, when things are more stable. But the truth is, there is no perfect moment. Life doesn't pause to give you the ideal conditions. It moves forward with or without your permission. And while you're standing still, waiting for everything to feel right, the world keeps turning, doors close, chances pass, and time slips through your fingers. The habit of waiting is easy to justify. You tell yourself you're being smart, being patient, being strategic. But there's a thin line between preparation and procrastination. It's one thing to get ready, it's another to delay because of fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of the unknown. The perfect moment becomes a shield to hide behind, a way to avoid taking responsibility for action. You convince yourself that it's just not the right time yet, but deep down, you're hoping that somehow the fear will disappear on its own. It won't. Action is the only thing that dissolves fear. Movement is the only way to build confidence. Waiting reinforces the doubt. Every day you delay, the resistance grows stronger, not weaker. You don't become more prepared by doing nothing. You become more prepared by engaging, by taking steps, by trying and adjusting. Even if you make mistakes, you learn faster by moving than by standing still. Real growth happens in the process, not in the planning. People spend years designing the perfect plan, creating the perfect strategy, reading the perfect books, listening to the perfect advice, but none of that replaces action. None of that builds the real momentum needed to change your life. The only way to know if something works is to test it. The only way to gain experience is to live it. But as long as you're stuck in the mindset of waiting, all your preparation stays trapped in your head, and your potential remains untapped. There's never a perfect time to start a business. There's never a perfect time to change careers. There's never a perfect time to commit to your health, or build a new habit, or take a leap. There's only now. Now is all you ever really have, and every time you postpone action, you trade now for later, forgetting that later isn't promised. People say, "I'll start tomorrow," but tomorrow is an illusion. Tomorrow turns into next week, next month, next year. Then you wake up and realize that the opportunity you once had is gone, not because you lack talent or resources, but because you waited too long. Time is your most valuable asset. You can lose money and make it back. You can lose relationships and rebuild them. But once time is gone, it never returns. And the tragedy is that most people waste it waiting for something that doesn't exist. They miss the beauty of imperfect action, the power of doing something, anything, that moves them forward. Waiting feels safe, but it's dangerous. It creates the illusion of control while robbing you of progress. It keeps your life in a holding pattern, a loop of hesitation where you keep rewriting the plan but never taking the first step. Taking action doesn't mean being reckless. It means being courageous. It means being willing to start before you feel ready, to move while the path is still uncertain. Every successful person you admire began before they had all the answers. They didn't wait for the perfect moment. They created momentum through action. They understood that clarity comes through movement, not through endless thinking. The more you act, the more you learn. The more you learn, the better you become, and the better you become, the closer you get to the life you want. You cannot think your way into a better future. You have to act your way there. Even small steps matter. Even imperfect action creates feedback. The first attempt won't be perfect, but it will be progress. It will teach you something. It will build your resilience. It will expose the gaps in your plan so you can improve it in real time. But none of that happens while you wait. Nothing changes while you sit on the sidelines. You can only influence what you're involved in. You can only change what you're willing to engage with. And that begins the moment you decide to stop waiting and start doing. The moment you stop saying one day and start saying day one. That shift is where transformation begins. That's the spark that turns potential into reality. And the longer you delay that spark, the dimmer your vision becomes, not because you stopped believing, but because you never started building. The perfect moment isn't coming. The only moment you control is the one you're in right now. The question is whether you're going to use it or let it pass like all the others you told yourself you'd act on but didn't.